Good day, everyone. Today, we are going to discuss to you some of the important notes about our basic education. Basic education, as per Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013 RA 10533, is intended to meet basic learning needs, which provides the foundation on which subsequent learning can be based. It encompasses kindergarten, elementary, and secondary education, as well as alternative learning systems for out-of-school learners and those with special needs. Now, here is the timeline of the Philippine Basic Education Curriculum and how it changed over time. So, from 1984 to 2002, we have the National Elementary School Curriculum. In 1991 to 2002, we have the new Secondary Education Curriculum. In 2002, we have the revised basic education curriculum. In 2010, we have the secondary education curriculum. And from 2012 to present, we follow the K-12 enhanced basic education curriculum. Here are some of the basic education curriculum principles. First, learner-centered, inclusive, developmentally appropriate. It is relevant, responsive, and research-based. The curriculum is gender and culture sensitive. It is contextualized and global. It is constructivist, inquiry-based, reflective, collaborative, and integrative. It also adheres to mother tongue-based multilingual education. It is a spiral progression approach for mastery, and it is flexible for location and indigenization. Here is the flow of the basic education program we have here in the Philippines from elementary to senior high school. The main goal of the basic education is to provide the school-age population and young adults with skills, knowledge, and values to become caring, self-reliant, productive, and patriotic citizens. Constitutional mandate of education. So there are three articles in the Philippine Constitution of 1987 that deals directly or indirectly with the educational system in the Philippines. These are, first is the Article 2, Declared Policies of the State; Article 14, Education, Science and Technology, Arts, Culture and Sports; and Article 15, the Provisions for the Family and Filipino Children. So these three articles are in line with the educational system here in the Philippines. In Article 2, Section 11, 12, 13, and 17, the state is mandated to provide a system of education for the Filipino children and the youth, a quality education, a complete, adequate, and integrated system of education relevant to the needs of the people and society, and the state must ensure that all citizens can access his envisioned system of education. So this is what the Department of Education is still trying to give to our learners, a quality education. Article 14, Education, Science and Technology, Arts, Culture, and Sports, mandates the states to provide for a free public elementary and secondary education. That is why lahat po ng government or public elementary and high school sa Pilipinas ay libre lamang. It also mandates the state to provide scholarship grants, student loan programs, and subsidies to deserving and poor students. So, pinipili yung mga pinaka-deserving, yung mga poor students para mabigyan sila ng scholarship at maipagpatuloy nila ang kanilang pag-aaral. It also requires all educational institutions to include the study of curricula, inculcate patriotism and nationalism, foster love for humanity, promotes respect for human rights and the appreciation of the role of national heroes in the historical development of the country, teach the rights and duties of citizenship, and encourage critical and creative thinking. So, lahat po ito ay nakapaloob sa ating DepEd vision and mission. Yung patriotism and nationalism, fostering love for humanity, promotes respect for human rights. And these are all inculcated also and included also sa ating curriculum. That is why lahat po ng mga traits na ito ay itinuturo at ini-integrate sa ating different learning areas. Next, it mandates the states to manage and regulate reasonably all educational institutions, It also orders the state to take into account regional and sectoral needs. It gives academic freedom to all institutions of higher learning. It ensures the right of all citizens to select a profession or course of study subject to fair, reasonable, and equitable academic requirement. It also mandates the state to enhance the right of teachers to professional advancement. It mandates the state to give the highest budgetary priority to education. That is why ang DepEd ang may pinakamalaking budget sa lahat ng department sa ating government. Next, it provides that Filipino is the national language of the Philippines. It makes English and Filipino as the official languages. It mandates the state to give priority to research and development innovation and to protect the rights of scientists, inventors, artists, and other gifted citizens to their intellectual property rights. It mandates the state to preserve and enrich the Filipino national culture based on the principle of unity and diversity and free expressions. It designates the state as patron of the arts and letters. It also mandates the state to protect the rights of indigenous cultural communities and to use these rights as inputs for national plans and policies. It requires the state to support researches and studies on the arts and culture, and it also mandates the state to promote physical education and sports program in order to instill self-discipline and foster teamwork and excellence for the development of a healthy and alert citizenry. Next one is the Article 15. Isa din po ito sa mga foundation ng ating basic education, which is the provisions for the family and Filipino children. So this article, under section 3, subsections 3 and 4 states that the state is also mandated to protect and defend the right of children to assistance, including proper care and nutrition and special protection from all forms of neglect, abuse, cruelty, exploitation, and other condition prejudicial to their development, as well as the right of families or family associations to participate in the planning and implementation of policies and programs that affect them. That is why sinasabi po natin ang paaralan or ang school ang pangalawang tahanan ng ating mga mag-aaral because it is where we give them extra uh, care and nutrition. That is why meron tayong mga feeding programs na ino-offer ng government sa ating mga uh, public elementary learners. May mga libreng school supplies, may mga libreng hygiene kit, may mga ibinibigay na libre para sa ating mga mag-aaral just to ensure that they are learning well and that they are physically healthy. And also, it should be made sure that the families or the parents are also included sa mga sa plans and programs ng isang school. That is why we have yung mga PTA or Parents Teacher Association natin sa school so that maging involved din sila sa mga planning, sa programs, sa pag-implement ng mga programs sa school. So these are the salient features of Education Act of 1982. So Education Act of 1982, this is an act providing for the establishment and maintenance of an integrated system of education. In accordance with Section 2, this act shall apply to and govern both formal and non-formal system in public and private schools in all levels of the entire educational system. Section 3, the Declaration of Basic Policy. First, to achieve and maintain an accelerating rate of economic development and social programs. Second, to assure the maximum participation of all people in the attainment and enjoyment of the benefits of such growth. And third, to achieve and strengthen national unity and consciousness and preserve, develop, and promote desirable cultural, moral, and spiritual values in changing world. Section 3. The state shall promote the right of every individual to relevant quality education regardless of sex, age, creed, socioeconomic status, physical and mental conditions, racial or ethnic origin, political or other affiliation. So it is very clear na wala tayong pinipili sa ating mga learners or kung sino yung ating bibigyan ng quality education, kung sino yung pwedeng mag-aral at kung sino yung hindi pwedeng mag-aral. Wala tayong ganong set up sa ating education system. wala tayong pinipili. Lahat ng citizens in the Philippines shall have access to quality education. Section 8 states the rights of parents. So, the parents have the right to organize by themselves and or with teachers forums for discussion and cooperation. So, meron silang mga meetings na pwede nilang uh, nabuuin by themselves or with the teachers to discuss or to talk about yung mga school activities or yung mga school concerns nila. They also have the right to access any official record directly relating to the children who are under their parental responsibility. So kung gusto ng parent na makita yung grades ng kanilang anak, so pwede nila yung ma-access. Section 9 naman is about the rights of the students. So first, it is the student's right to receive primarily through competent instruction, relevant quality education. Of course, so ibibigay natin sa ating mga students yung quality education. Number 2, freely choose their field of study and continue their course up to graduation except in cases of academic deficiency or violations. So it is their right to choose kung ano yung course na gusto nilang kunin sa college. So hindi na tayo mag-i-interfere dyan ng mga teachers or even us as parents we have no right para pilitin ang ating mga anak na kumuha ng kurso na hindi naman nila gusto. Number 3, the right to school guidance and counseling services for decisions. So, we have our guidance counselors sa school so that mag-guide nila yung ating mga children or ng ating mga learners in making their decisions. It is also their right to access his own school records. So, kung gusto ng bata na makita yung kanyang mga grades, yun nga, ay pwede natin yung ipakita sa kanila. Meron silang right to access that. Number 5, issuance of official documents within 30 days from request. So, kasama na doon yung mga TOR, yung mga report cards na hinihingi nilang documents from the school. Next, publish a student newspaper and similar publications. So, mayroon tayo sa mga higher education institutions, meron tayong mga publications, meron tayong mga school papers na na organized by our students. So, doon sila nagsusulat ng kanilang mga thoughts, opinions, or kung ano man yung kanilang mga activities sa school, pinapublish nila yun doon. Next, free expression of opinion and suggestions. Number 8, form, establish, and join in organizations and societies recognized by the school. And the last one is to be free from involuntary contributions. Section 10, the right of school personnel. The right to free expression of opinion and suggestions. The right to be provided with free legal service by the appropriate government office. The right to establish, join, and maintain labor organizations, and the right to be free from involuntary contributions except those imposed by their own organizations. Section 11. Special rights or privileges of teaching or academic staff. So they have the right to be free from compulsory assignments not related to their duties, the right to intellectual property consistent with applicable laws. Teachers shall be deemed persons in authority when in the discharge of lawful duties, and teachers shall be accorded the opportunity to choose alternative career lines. Special rights of school administration. School administrators shall, in accordance with existing laws, regulations, and policies. Section 13. The rights of schools. The right of their governing board or lawful authorities to provide for the proper governance of the school, and the right for institutions of higher learning to determine on academic grounds. Let us define the terms formal education, elementary education, secondary education, and tertiary education under Section 20. So, formal education refers to the hierarchically structured and chronologically graded learning organized and provided by the formal school system, and for which certification is required in order for the learner to progress through the grades or move to higher levels. Formal education shall correspond to the following levels. First is the elementary education. This is the first stage of compulsory formal education primarily concerned with providing basic education and usually corresponding to 6 or 7 grades, including preschool programs. Secondary education, the state of formal education following the elementary level, concerned primarily with continuing basic education and expanding it to include the learning of employable gainful skills, usually corresponding to 4 years of high school. Tertiary education. This is the post-secondary schooling, which is higher education leading to a degree in a specific profession or discipline. The salient features of RA 9155 on Basic Education. Republic Act Number 9155, or the Governance of Basic Education Act of 2001, is an act instituting a framework of governance for basic education, establishing authority and accountability, renaming the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports as the Department of Education, and for other purposes. So, this is an act na nag-rename sa ating department from Department of Education, Culture, and Sports as uh, to the Department of Education that we have now. Here is the summary of Republic Act 9155. The declaration of policy of the state to protect and promote the right of all citizens to quality basic education and to make such education accessible to all by providing all Filipino children a free and compulsory education in the elementary level and free education in high school level was made. Alternative learning system was also reiterated for out-of-school youth and adult. Governance of basic education shall begin at the national level. It is the regions, divisions, schools, and learning. The state shall encourage local initiatives to improving the quality of basic education. It shall ensure the values, needs, and aspirations of school community are reflected in the program of education for the children, out-of-school youth, and adult learners. Schools and learning centers shall be empowered to make decisions on what is best for the learners they serve. The basic education sector reform agenda has these focus. First, the Department of Education is currently implementing the school's first initiative, an effort to improve basic education outcomes through a broadly participated, popular movement featuring a wide variety of initiatives undertaken by individual schools and communities, as well as network of schools at localities involving schools, districts, and divisions, local governments, civil society organizations, and other stakeholders, groups, and associations. DepEd is pursuing a package of policy reforms that, as a whole, seeks to systematically improve critical regulatory, institutional, structural, financial, cultural, physical, and information conditions affecting basic education provision, access, and delivery on the ground. It is expected to create changes necessary to further accelerate, broaden, deepen, and sustain and improve education effort already being started by the school. Here is the overall objectives of BESTRA. First, universal adult functional literacy. Second, universal school participation and elimination of dropouts and repetition in first three grades. Third, universal completion of the full cycle of basic education schooling with satisfactorily achievement levels by all at every grade or year. And fourth, the total community commitment to attainment of basic education competencies for all. The five key reform thrust of basic education sector reform agenda. So dito sa five thrust na to talaga nag-focus ang ating basic education sector. KRT1, get all schools to continuously improve. KRT2, enable teachers to further enhance their contribution to learning outcomes. KRT3, increase social support to attainment of desired learning outcomes. KRT4, improve impact and outcomes from complementary early childhood education, alternative learning systems, and private sector participation. KRT5, change institutional culture of DepEd to better support these key reforms thrusts. Let us now have the scope of the K-12 basic education curriculum. So, ito yung curriculum na implemented natin ngayon. So, it is expected na lahat tayo dito ay may knowledge or may idea about K-12 program. So, this is just like a review para sa ating lahat. So what is K to 12 program? The K to 12 program covers kindergarten and 12 years of basic education, 6 years from those ay sa primary education, 4 years of junior high school and 2 years of senior high school to provide sufficient time for mastery of concepts and skills, develop lifelong learners, and prepare graduates for tertiary education, middle level skills development, employment, and entrepreneurship. This slide po shows the graph of the basic education, yung kanyang timeline. So, sa kindergarten and after kindergarten, 6 years of primary education, 4 years of junior high school, that is grade 7 to grade 10, and 2 years of senior high school, which is in grade 11 to grade 12. So, as you can see there, since the K to 12 curriculum has been implemented. So the first batch to start this curriculum is the grade 1 and the grade 7 learners from school year 2012 to 2013. So nung school year 2017 to 2018, nakapag-produce na tayo ng ating graduates from K to 12 curriculum sa grade 6 at saka sa grade 12. Here are some of the salient features of the K-12 curriculum. First, strengthening early childhood education, which is the universal kindergarten. Second, making the curriculum relevant to learners through contextualization and enhancement. Third, building proficiency through language, which is the mother tongue based multilingual education is the focus. Fourth, ensuring integrated and seamless learning through spiral progression. And fifth, gearing up for the future, which is offered by the senior high school. Some important points to remember regarding the K-12 education system. So the K-12 program offers a decongested 12-year program that gives students sufficient time to master skills and absorb basic competencies. The students of the new system will graduate at the age of 18 and will be ready for employment, entrepreneurship, middle level skills development, and higher education upon graduation. The K-12 program accelerates mutual recognition of Filipino graduates and professionals in other countries. The kindergarten is mandatory for 5-year-old children and a prerequisite admission to grade 1. The new curriculum gives students the chance to choose among three tracks: the academic, the TBL, and the sports and arts. So why do we think that there is a need to change the curriculum into K-12 program and implement the 13 years of basic education? So the Philippines is the last country in Asia and one of only three countries worldwide with a 10-year pre-university cycle. Kasama dyan yung Angola and Djibouti. So, Angola, Djibouti, and the Philippines are only the last three countries na mayroong 10-year pre-university cycle. So, in short, worldwide, medyo nahuhuli daw tayo sa ating education system. Next, a 13-year program is found to be the best period for learning under basic education. It is also the recognized standard for students and professionals globally. So, hindi na din magiging mahirap daw para sa ating mga graduates na makapag-compete globally kasi the same yung ating length ng education foundation natin, which is 13-year program. Here are some of the listed benefits of the Philippines K-12 curriculum. Number 1, preparedness for tertiary learning. With adaptation of K-12 scheme, students are expected to graduate at an age a bit older than past graduates. This is an advantage according to DepEd as graduates will be considered young adults. Hence, they will be more equipped to deal with much higher level of learning as they enter college education. Next, readiness to join the workforce. Unlike the old system, K-12 does not compel each student to take college after completing senior high school. In fact, this scheme empowers students to make a choice on their own. They may not pursue college education, especially if they have chosen a track other than academic track. The good thing is senior high school graduates will be equipped with skills through electives that will make them good at certain fields. Next, skill competency in the global job market. K-12 system aims to improve Filipino students' mathematical, scientific, and linguistic competence. With the new curriculum, DepEd promised to offer higher quality education through tracks. Each track will give students enough time to master a field and enhance their skills. In the end, K-12 graduates will become globally competitive and are set to obtain spot in the stiff labor market. Secondary education. Secondary education in the Philippines is also known as high school, and it consists of two levels. First is the lower secondary education, which is the junior high school from grade 7 to grade 10, and the upper secondary education, which is the senior high school from grades 11 to 12. Students graduating from the elementary level automatically enroll in junior high, which covers 4 years from grade 7 to 10. This level is now compulsory and free to all students attending public schools. There are two main types of high school: the general secondary school, which enroll more than 90% of all junior high school students, and the vocational secondary school. The Department of Education specifies a compulsory curriculum for all junior high school students, public and private. There are five core subjects: science, mathematics, English, Filipino, and Araling Panlipunan or the social studies. So lahat ng junior high school dito sa Pilipinas, public man or private, ay kinakailangan na magturo ng five core subjects, yung Science, Math, English, Filipino, and Araling Panlipunan. So, ang limang subjects na iyon ay dapat pasok sa kanilang curriculum. Other subjects in all levels of junior high school include MAPE, which is a collective subject comprising the music, art, physical education, and health. Meron ding values education, the ESP, and the Technology and Livelihood Education or yung TLE. Senior high school is 2 years of specialized upper secondary education. Students may choose a specialization based on aptitude, interests, and school capacity. The choice of career track will define the content of the subjects a student will take in grades 11 and 12 during siguro mga 16 to 17 years old of the student. Senior high school subjects fall under either the core curriculum or specific tracks. The seven learning areas under the core curriculum of the senior high school are languages, literature, communication, mathematics, philosophy, natural sciences, and social sciences. So the current content from some general education subjects are already embedded in the senior high school curriculum. There are three tracks in senior high school na pwedeng pagpilian at kunin ng mga students. Nandiyan yung academic track, technical vocational livelihood track, and the sports and arts track. So sa academic track, included na dyan ang business and accountancy management or yung ABM. Next is the humanities, education, and social sciences, the HESS, and the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics or the STEM. What about the TVET or the Technical Vocational Education and Training or the National Certificate? Ino-offer pa po ba ito? Yes, a student can obtain certificates of competency or COC or a National Certificate Level 1 or the NC1 after finishing a technical vocational livelihood track in grade 12. So a student may obtain a National Certificate Level 2 provided that he or she passes the competency-based assessment of the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or the TESDA. So in short, uh, after makuha yung track na technical vocational livelihood ng isang estudyante, meron na siyang automatic na National Certificate Level 1. So kung gusto niya magkaroon ng NC2, pwede siyang mag-aral at mag-enroll sa TESDA. Every K to 12 graduate are expected and will be ready to go into different paths, may it be further education, employment, or entrepreneurship. Every graduate will be equipped with information, media, and technology skills, learning and innovation skills, effective communication skills, and life and career skills. What is or what are the importance of senior high school? The senior high school is a requirement for college admission aiming to study for a 4 or 5 year degree program in college. Finishing senior high school is a must. Okay, so kung gusto ng isang estudyante na mag-proceed sa college, kailangan niya munang matapos ang senior high school. It also allows students to study general education subjects, giving them more time to dig deeper into their deeper chosen specialization should they eventually decide to pursue higher education. It also plays an important role if you intend to pursue jobs in countries where companies require a minimum of 16 years of formal education as opposed to our 14-year under the old educational system to qualify for employment. So, mas malaki yung chance na makakuha tayo ng mas magandang trabaho ah, outside our country kapag tayo ay nakapagtapos ng senior high school plus our degree sa college. So, mas competent and mas magiging competitive ang ating mga graduates, lalo na kapag sila ay nag-apply abroad. Education for all means ensuring that all children have access to basic education of good quality. This implies creating an environment in schools and in basic education programs in which children are both able and unable to learn. Education helps eradicate poverty and hunger, giving people the chance at better lives. This is one of the biggest reasons why parents strive to make their kids attend school as long as possible. It is also why nations work toward promoting easier access to education for both children and adults. It helps people become better citizens, get a better paid job, shows the difference between good and bad. Education shows us the importance of hard work and at the same time helps us grow and develop. Thus, we are able to shape a better society to live in by knowing and respecting rights, laws, and regulations. And that is all about our report. Thank you for your attention and thank you for listening.